We are a team. As storytellers and dreamers,
there is always magic to discover.
Once upon a time,
a Las Vegas showgirl
and a comedian magician,
figured out that even with different perspectives,
our adventures and experiences together
are really just
one big
caper. Welcome back to One Big Caper. My name is Phelyx. This is my partner Athena, and this is an unscripted podcast and YouTube channel, again called One Big Caper. We have decided to talk about Las Vegas today because as entertainers we have both worked separately in Las Vegas, considerably more from Athena than myself, but that's one thing that people ask us about all the time, whether they're planning a trip or they even people who are experienced with Las Vegas. They want to know some of the behind the scenes stuff from either one of us, little secrets, tips and trips, tips and what? Tricks. Why of all the things I can't say tricks is a mystery. Some people who have never been to Las Vegas just kind of see it as this adult Disney fantasy land, and we are here to dispel some of the myths and to give you some tips. And I intend to do this as a series with Athena. So today we're just going to talk about the foundation, what we know about Las Vegas and Las Vegas entertainment, and how it's kind of changed, evolved, and then devolved a few times over in recent history.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a fun topic.
I think it's a fun topic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we should attack first is the idea that Las Vegas, for most of its stardom as the entertainment capital of the world, had a mascot, an icon of the entertainment in Las Vegas, and that was the Las Vegas Showgirl, appropriated from Paris. And I would certainly not be the expert on this subject so much as Athena, who is also a Las Vegas Showgirl preservationist and historian.
Kind of.
You are.
Okay, fine. I do have an entire podcast about showgirls. So.
Yes, there are other resources that we will make available to you. We can link that down below if you want to deep dive into showgirl history. But if you were asked to synopsize, what does that sound like?
Showgirl history?
Las Vegas Showgirl history.
Las Vegas Showgirl.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I think that it all started in 1958 when they brought the Lido de Paris to the Stardust. So that was the mob. The mob brought the Lido girls in, and I think, well, I know for sure, talking to some of the performers from a little after that time, I only had the opportunity to talk to one, that the shows were there they were actually there for the women, because they wanted the men to gamble their money away and they needed something for the women to do. But what they didn't count on is that everyone would be enjoying the shows, and that they would be going in droves to Las Vegas to see these spectacular shows, because they were really spectacles. They were like nothing anyone could see anywhere in the world except for Paris. And the fun part is that the Las Vegas shows were much bigger in scale than the French shows. So there's that little tidbit. But this showgirl had a hold on Las Vegas entertainment for a long time, and they paired the showgirls with headliners, like singers, usually, and comedians, big headliners. And then later it became magicians and like variety acts. So it was kind of like an evolution towards what happened later, which was Cirque.
The big bad word.
Cirque took over.
Big bad word in Las Vegas entertainment, according to all entertainers in Las Vegas, and that is Cirque.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, there is a huge resentment for the Cirque empire, save for a couple of shows, like Chris Angel, for example, is a magician, of course, who performs at the Luxor, and his show is produced by Cirque.
Oh, that's great.
So he's not mad at Cirque, but
yeah, they pay his paychecks. Yeah,
it's a big bad word. So we're talking about a big difference in entertainment and what was available in Las Vegas. The Showgirl being an obvious icon. I don't think there's anybody in this country who doesn't associate a Showgirl with Las Vegas.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you say that she became the icon of Las Vegas. The former mayor, Oscar Goodman, who happened to be on the legal team of the mob back in the day. So it's funny that he became the mayor.
Right.
But he is never seen in public without two showgirls on his arm. Like
He still
does
on
that.
to the icon.
Yes.
Yep.
And I don't think his wife, who's now the mayor of Las Vegas, does that.
No.
I mean,
I
that would be
haven't
kind of
seen it.
weird. But seeing that this icon, the Las Vegas Showgirl, this beautiful feathered vision,
Goddess.
goddess energy for sure, became the icon, and then basically they slowly like got rid of her in various ways, like just
She's hanging on by a thread right now. As an experiment, in a fairly recent trip to Las Vegas, we did our best to look for any kind of showgirl tchotchkes or whatever in the airport, at souvenir shops or whatever, and frustratingly, the showgirl is being erased even from little souvenir booths, which is mind blowing, really.
yeah. But like, so sorry.
No.
To add to that I was talking about, I don't see the Cirque anything becoming an icon of Las Vegas because there's not really anything.
They don't have any icons.
They don't. Like it's circus.
Nothing like fundamentally
Yeah.
recognizable,
between
except
all
it's the
circus
same
shows.
show with different music. But beyond that,
Yeah. So why can't they make an icon
Right.
out of it? I don't know.
they need a Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I feel, and I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 Cirque shows. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. It's just a different dream.
Yeah, that's
it's just a different
probably
dream.
going to be an unpopular opinion, but
for sure.
we're snobby. We're not secretive about that. So with the Showgirl, what we're talking about is that the boys, the mob, discovered the most fantastic lure to their casinos in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
which was the Las Vegas Showgirl, and they began to compete with each other to build larger spectaculars, bigger reviews,
Yes.
more expensive costumes. It became a competition because those
That's what boys do.
yes, that's what boys do. Those larger productions were, in fact, a wonderful draw to the casinos. Now, at the time, the casinos were making all of their money from gambling,
Yes.
and that is why they often offered free tickets to shows as an incentive to come, comped rooms at the hotels, $1 buffets, which I got to participate in the very early 80s. I was a child, mind you, but I did get to go have a huge crab leg dinner and whatnot for $1.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. We loved it, of course. And all of that is gone now, to a comical degree. It's gone so much the other direction.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So this we kind of see happening in right around 1980.
That it started to change?
That when corporate started to move.
No. It was after the mob fell, which was between 83 and 85, I believe, was
Okay.
when the mob fell. And then stuff started to happen. So there are still casino owners that have or had ties with the mob. That's just all there is to it.
I'm
They
sure.
still do.
We don't talk about Bruno.
We don't know specifics. I've only heard rumors, but some of the big guys now still that are still there had ties.
They should be taking advice because clearly, as a result of a number of decisions, corporate or otherwise, they started to hemorrhage money and not earn as much from tourism. So they've done a lot of experiments over the last couple decades, and one of which was a spectacular failure, which was to make Las Vegas a family destination.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I was like, oh, yeah, let's just get all of their money by having a place for the kids to go, and then the adults could play and do all their things. Yeah, I think it was a spectacular fail, like big time. And they've had to fix it without spending any more money. So some of those hotel and casinos would be Circus, Excalibur, New York, kind of.
Treasure
Island.
Store.
Yeah, Treasure Island, which was connected to the Mirage. They used to have that big pirate show. And then, that started, I think, in the late 80s to 90s. They started to Vegas is a family destination. However, they still had that seedy past. I mean, Vegas was built on the red light district, basically, because it was a railroad oasis. So there's still that. They had the strip clubs. I decided the moment when I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was driving to work one day, and there was a billboard for the Hard Rock Cafe, which I believe is no longer there.
It's Virgin now.
It's Virgin now. Yeah. Okay, so the Hard Rock Hotel, there was a billboard with, all you could see was this part of a woman, and she had dice over her nipples. They must have had to Photoshop the areolas out, because there was no possible way that a woman could have areolas that tiny. But, she's holding the dice in front of her nipples, and I was just like, I can't raise my kids here. I don't want them to see that stuff. So I think that's one of the reasons that the family environment failed, because it was just not possible.
It's not a
because
family
there was
place.
It's just not. It is Sin City, and people go there for sex, drugs, not necessarily rock and roll, but yeah, it's an adult playground for sure. Whatever your vice is, they got it there.
It is still the entertainment capital of the world, but things are very different.
I don't know how.
And I'll explain a couple of observations that we've made about that. But
Yeah.
We can tell you that it is no longer the gambling capital of the world, which is mind-blowing, isn't it?
It's shocking to me. Shocking. They have slot machines in convenience stores and grocery stores. How
in Las
is it?
Vegas, there is a slot machine for every 4 people
Oh,
in all of Las Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, there's a slot machine for every 4 people.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot of machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was alluding to in this devolved process is, Athena's show was one in which there were 100 people on stage, and then we have the staff backstage or in the booth or
Yeah.
manning the entire thing. It took a lot of people to operate that show, and the discovery was that it is an expensive production. It's expensive to run that show every night, and they have discovered such things as LED walls in place of sets. Mm-hmm. They have discovered that you can hire one even relatively famous entertainer as opposed to 100 people who have a smaller paycheck, but all in all, they're saving money.
Yeah.
And as a business model, I understand, but what a tragedy that it is to lose these production shows.
Because you can't see a production show like they were producing in Vegas anywhere in the world. Anywhere. Okay, maybe Paris, Moulin Rouge. And I'm not including Lido in that, because there's a lot of projection mapping. There's a lot of LED projection screens. You lose that depth of live show entertainment.
It's like watching a movie instead of seeing a theater show.
Why are we going to spend $150 to watch a movie with people? I mean, that's just like watching Rocky Horror Picture Show where they do what do they call that when they do the movie in front of the?
Oh, there's a name for it. They're lip syncing, but
they're lip syncing. But
live. Yeah.
Why am I going to pay $150, $200 for a ticket to watch a movie?
Yeah.
Where live entertainment is going, especially in a place like Las Vegas, that is known for being the entertainment capital of the world, it's just really sad.
It is sad.
And you don't get that energy exchange between the performers and the audience. There's just it's tragic, for sure.
It's kind of sad, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we've recently talked about taking the teenagers here to Paris to see a real show before
Yes.
that's no longer a thing, which is really scary to think about.
Yeah, it is.
So the Las Vegas Showgirls also were catalysts to other entertainers, as you alluded to. In most of the productions, they had a variety act right in the middle to cover set changes or to cover costume changes, things like that. And it was very often an animal act or a magician or a combination of the two.
Yes.
And thusly, we get Las Vegas stars like Lance Burton, Siegfried and Roy. Even Penn and Teller did some showgirl review stuff.
Did
And,
David Copperfield ever?
Copperfield did not. No, he was working with television.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he didn't need to.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
but it's now at this time. And many of these people are my friends, men and women alike, of course, but each hotel still on the Strip and off the Strip has some kind of magic show, which didn't exist before the Showgirl reviews. The magic shows were not a thing, but every hotel has a magic show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why
I
is-
can give you 50 names, and each of them have a residency in a Las Vegas hotel casino.
How did that happen?
Maybe it's that old we got to compete, let's bring in a magician to the showroom. It's fascinating, but
Is magic really that popular as a entertainment art form?
believe it or not, yes.
Okay.
And there are price categories for magic shows that range from only $20 all the way to a couple $100.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to see one of the bigger names, Penn and Teller, or
Yeah.
Certainly David Copperfield's
Right.
Shin Lim,
Oh yeah, I
who
saw
won
the
AGT
billboard.
twice.
Yeah, I saw the billboard for his show.
Yeah.
Where's he at again? I didn't. Pay
Which
attention.
hotel?
Yeah.
I'll write that in the description. I gotta
Okay.
look it up just to make. I don't want to say and be wrong. So
I just saw Shin Lim, and we were driving so fast.
I'll
I was-
verify it and we'll put the link down.
Yeah,
below.
I was just
In
in
fact, I'll
Vegas.
give you in this. We're gonna mark this because I will give you a list of I would say my top 5 recommendations for magic shows that are currently playing in Las Vegas.
And I can't even give a list of top 5 adult shows that I would go see.
As for Showgirls, they are making tiny cameo appearances in other shows, but there is not a Showgirl review any longer. That went away with Jubilee, which was the show that Athena was in.
Yes. And some of the girls that were in the Jubilee at the last edition of Jubilee, they went on to other things. Some of them are the Golden Bells, which I didn't even know about. Do you know what the Golden Bells are?
You told me, so yes.
Okay, yeah. So they are the mascots for the hockey team in Las Vegas. And I said, wait, Las Vegas has a hockey team?
Yeah.
Now, I just found this out last week because I went to Las Vegas to speak on a panel about Jubilee. And so I was with like my favorite showgirl historian, who is the head of the Public Services for Special Collections at the UNLV Library, and they have an entire special collection on showgirl history. So, she shows me all of the information about what's becoming of the showgirl because she's doing her best to preserve her history. But yeah, the Golden Bells are mascots, and I actually know 3 of them. I think there's 6 or 8 of them. I know 3 of them. I used to dance with them in
Okay.
Jubilee. Yeah,
All right,
so
that's fun.
yeah, the only thing I have to complain about is their costume. But I'm a snob, right?
Yes.
What's not great about the costume is they've had to incorporate the icon or the logo of the team, which is some weird mask type thing. I can't even remember what the name of the team is, but it's like if someone wanted to do a commercial about whatever, and they were like, "Oh, those are great costumes, but we need the logo on there," and they just plopped it on there. Just look up Golden Bells. You'll find a few of my friends. The rest of the costume is fine. It's just the hat that I'm just like, I feel like they could have done a better job with the design of it. I don't know who designed the costumes, but it definitely wasn't a master, for sure. Yeah. But anyway, it's just my snobby remarks about it. But they've also done, they still do, they gig. We used to gig. After about the probably mid-90s, it started to become a thing where showgirls had to gig. There wasn't, they did gig before they did what they called industrials, but now they call them conventions. And they did those just for extra money for fun to play. It wasn't like they had to survive. By the time I got there, it was like, if you want to buy a house at the age of 20, which is what I did, buy a house and a new car and all this stuff, you're going to have to do some side gigs. So that could be go-go dancing. It could be special events where I did one where I was body painted, nude. I was wearing a G-string and walked around with Band-Aids on my nipples because nipples, even though they were covered with paint. So, doing those kinds of weird things, they'd still do it. I mean, there's so many parties and reasons to go to Las Vegas and to entertain groups of people that there's plenty of opportunities for these girls to be their glamorous, beautiful selves and still, get paid well. I did Stallone's 60th birthday party. That was an interesting experience. That was right after I left Jubilee. But there's not really a show, and my former manager wrote her thesis on the rise and fall of the showgirl icon. She doesn't have a show to be in. And what is a showgirl if she doesn't have a show to be in? Which is, pretty much the biggest question. So these girls are, they're doing their work, they're working, but we can't be showgirls unless we have a show, because it's not about one person dressed in a feathery costume. It's an entire spectacle, which even Broadway has cut the spectacle. When we saw Frozen, there was 15 people in the cast.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible shame.
Yeah.
Likewise, the same thing is happening in the magic shows. Many fewer dancers, lower numbers in terms of personnel to run the show.
Yeah.
Just whatever they can do to cut costs. And part of that has to do with the fact that the shows are not sponsored by the casinos and hotels anymore.
Nope.
There's no safety there, because the entertainers or the production companies who are putting the entertainers in these showrooms, they are renting that room. It's called four-walling, but they are paying to be there.
Yeah.
And
Which never used to be the case when the mob ran. They invited you and they treated you like a king or a queen.
It is an amazingly scary thing to invest in terms of producing a show in Las Vegas. The recent numbers right now, I would say, put it right around, to start a show in Las Vegas, to get things kind of launched, just from, this doesn't include your personnel or your equipment to run the show or costumes or any of that, but you're still looking at about $300,000 to stay afloat for 2 months, and cross your fingers that everything hooks and you start getting voted by the reviews and that kind of thing as one of the number one shows in Las Vegas. It is fiercely competitive. And I'm not kidding, there's a magic show in every hotel.
I am floored by this.
I will give you my juicy bit, and then we're going to wrap it up. But as I promised, this is going to be a continuing series, because we do have some familiarity with Las Vegas, and that seems to be something people want to know.
Yeah.
That said, anything you want to know, please let us know. You can write to us at hello@onebigcaper.com or put a comment down below this, but we love to read that stuff, and we will certainly respond either on camera or otherwise. So my juicy bit was that there's this constant effort to produce low-cost shows in Las Vegas. We want to minimize personnel. We want to get our hands on talent that is affordable. And, the big thing right now is DJs. And a DJ can make $30, $60, $100,000 a night in Las Vegas with the right room and reputation, I suppose. But as absurd as that is, I am familiar with one effort where they wanted to feature social media, TikTok stars, people who are doing 30-second magic tricks for a camera, and they wanted to just, let's make a show of it. So we're going to bring in some of these young people, these young magicians, because they're famous on TikTok. We'll just put them all on stage together. And I can't even tell you which hotel it was, but nevertheless, they got, I think, 2 weeks in and just pulled the plug because they were dealing with entertainers who have no experience entertaining people. Their entire experience is just like what we're doing right now, talking to a piece of plastic, and yeah, they may have gotten popular on TikTok, but no training for being on stage, and the show was flat. And these are people who can perform longer than 30 seconds in a stint. So spectacular mess, a big mistake, an expensive mistake, and I think a lot of that expense went to erasing it from history.
Yeah, because I can't find a single.
I think they paid a
press
lot of
release
money to
or anything.
make
Yeah,
it go
there's
away.
some great PR firms in Vegas, so I can imagine that was an easy thing for them to do. But yeah, how do you erase that stuff from the internet? I don't.
It's possible. That's what PR companies do. They negotiate to have publications, media remove things from their archives.
So, yeah, maybe they should just leave it to the pros and, yeah. Support your local entertainers. Go see shows. Pay money to go see shows. Because that's...
Let's make an episode about what you mean by that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah, so those are my tips. Go see shows. Entertainers haven't been working for 2.5 years.
We'll give you a lot more information about Las Vegas, of course, as the series continues. But thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate it.
We can't keep doing this without you. Give us just a little bit of your time by subscribing, sharing, rating, or talking about One Big Caper with someone else. We truly appreciate your support.
We want to hear your stories. Visit onebigcaper.com to get to know us even more.
This episode of One Big Caper was published in 2022. All rights to broadcast in whole or in part are the property of Gazellus Productions, LLC.